Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. If you've been following the podcast, you know that Claire Miller and myself are embarking on a series that we're recording called Heal and Be Healthy, The Journey. Today, we have a special guest. Her name is Danielle Killeffer. She is an allopathic and osteopathically trained, licensed and registered dietitian of over 16 years. Danielle is a certified GAPS practitioner in 2016 and holds specialty certifications in biofeedback therapy, bioenergetic analysis, and Goyette cell response therapy training. Due to the holistic methods of healing Danielle has discovered on her journey, she and her daughter are now both healthy. Danielle runs a successful practice in Chattanooga, Tennessee, called Nutrapothica, where she helps others achieve optimal health so they can too live with vibrancy. Hi, Danielle.
Hey. Happy Monday to everybody.
Hey.
Good to have you here.
Happy.
So we are in a couple of the same Facebook groups. I met Danielle on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just like personally, from the beginning when I met you online, I thought like this gal knows her shit. I thought, that she's really special. Like you were asking such in-depth questions. You can tell when, there were some people, especially I'm referring to the GCRT group, that you could tell they were kind of like new to holistic healing. And then I think the people like you and me and Claire and a couple of the other people that you could kind of tell that we have a background in holistic healing or we've taken our own journeys. And so I really got that air from you that, you had taken your journey. Could you tell us a little bit about, I guess, where your journey started with holistic healing?
Yeah, so I had worked in the hospital system for 7-ish years. And honestly, the last few of those years, I was really sick. I felt like absolute crap. No energy, wasn't sleeping at night, had chronic back pain, depression, and I was on 13 different meds.
Wow.
At 25, yeah. And then I got pregnant, lost that baby, had a really just traumatic time with that. There's a whole nother, piece to that because I ended up getting a uterine infection after the DNC, and it was just trauma on top of trauma. Yeah. And then shortly after that, I got pregnant with my daughter, who is now 9, and she really, God bless her, has been the impetus for me getting into holistic health and the holistic nutrition. Because when I was working in a hospital system, I thought, what in the world am I doing? Like, I'm not helping anybody. Like, here's they got a tray of food in front of them and they're like, what is this? And I can't even say. I'm like,
I don't know.
I think that's, some kind of porridge and and they're like, how am I supposed to heal on this? And then I'm like, I don't know, but here's an Ensure, which is like synthetic vitamins and minerals, corn syrup. Like there's just not anything healthy in an Ensure. But yet, our sickest clients were being like, we need to give them the Ensure so they get well. But I still felt like nobody was getting real nutrition. And so I'm like, what am I doing? Well, then I had my daughter, and at 10 weeks old, she had a lot of, she had a vaccine injury. She had a lot of gut damage from that and like explosive neon green diarrhea for months on end.
Wow.
Was diagnosed. Yeah. Diagnosed failure to thrive and had a lot of food sensitivities. So I really had, no way to help her. And I took her to several doctors, pediatric GI doctors. And, at 9 months old, she was the size of a 4-month-old. And then at 1 year old, which like the biggest part of her back, then at 1 was her head. It was just, she was all head. But 14.8 pounds at 1 year old.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I mean, I was getting desperate. She was right at the, cusp of needing a feeding tube. And, they gave me Pediasure and Miralax. And, Miralax had never been, I don't know about now, but it had never been studied in babies. And I just really didn't feel comfortable giving her that. Because at that point, she had gone from having explosive neon green diarrhea to being chronically constipated for, 1 or 2 weeks at a time. And so, so at about 1 year old, that's when I found the GAPS nutritional protocol. And it's a gut healing protocol. It is fantastic. However, it's a ton of work. You have to cook everything from scratch, and there's a certain method to doing it, and there's stages, and you really have to work your way up, and it's a lot. I mean, because obviously if you're cooking that stuff, you're having to clean up, right? Constantly.
Yeah,
you're in the kitchen 24/7. And so you can't work. But I did what I had to do, and that's the only tool that I had at that point in time. And with the GAPS diet, we were able to get her, to gain weight eventually. Like within the first couple of months, she had gained a couple of pounds. And, she started hitting her milestones again. And then, my back pain eventually, like after 6 months, started to dissipate. It took a little longer for me to start sleeping. That was the real thing that is, we can talk about that another time, but my root canal teeth were the thing that was giving me insomnia. I had no idea, but once I got my root canal teeth removed, I almost instantly could start sleeping again.
Wow, that's such good information.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I had searched high and low for every kind of help. And I thought, I didn't think my teeth were going to be related to my sleep, my insomnia necessarily, but I read up on the dangers of root canals. And anyway, I don't want to go sideways with that, but yeah, so through the GAPS diet, we found tons of healing. And I was like, this makes sense. This is what I wanted to go to school for, and thought I was really going to school for. But they really teach us in conventional nutrition that, it's just not real food, right? Like we're looking at like low sugar, low fat, low sodium, low cholesterol. And then that's really, you're just kind of left with processed food. But real food is what heals us and it provides us with the nutrients we need. And so with the GAPS diet, and I became GAPS certified a couple of years after being on the diet with my daughter. But through that, we saw tremendous healing, but at the same time, she had to be on the diet very meticulously or, everything fell apart.
And it's really hard to sustain. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's when I found the Goyach homeopathics and minerals and all the formulations, and saw, met Tim and started using his formulas. She had eczema on her arms for a solid 15 months. I mean, it was raw on the insides of her arms, and I had to keep them wrapped at all times or they would just be oozing. And within 10 days of starting some of the formulations, the Goyach formulations, her eczema was completely gone and has never returned.
Wow, that's powerful.
And it was at that point that we were testing foods that, previously she could not tolerate, and she can now eat whatever she wants. Now, granted, she doesn't do well with a lot of sugar, a lot of food dyes, but nobody does those things, as weaken the body.
Not natural, right?
It's not. But she does great. She is thriving. She's a healthy weight. She's smart.
And she's beautiful. I see pictures of her on Facebook. Both of you are so gorgeous.
Thank you.
You're mini me.
She's a firecracker.
Just like mama.
Yeah. But so, yeah. What's that?
I said she had to be a firecracker to survive all of that.
Amen to that. She's really been through a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was really the impetus for me to get into the holistic side of wellness, what wellness really is. I feel like we're really given tools to help support the body, and the body really can heal from anything as long as we give it the right tools and support it in the ways that it needs to be supported.
That's
So
beautiful.
yeah.
So I want to ask a question that I think would be helpful to people who are taking a, natural healing journey, because this stuff doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I know the story with Tim's minerals, like 10 days, like that's like that. Everybody wants that, right? But you were saying that with the GAPS diet, that you had to wait like 6 months. And so did you, like, what kept you going for 6 months? Was it desperation? Did you notice like little improvements? And if you did, what were those small improvements?
Well, I'll tell you what, if there's one thing about me, it's that I'm determined. when I set my sights on something, I decide something. I mean, like, I'm very strong-willed and just determined. And I don't know, I felt compelled to really work on getting the gut right, because I know a lot of our health comes from the gut. And I had known going into it that it takes most people a couple of years to really rebuild their gut, and now even longer now. But back then, we were looking at 2-3 years. And so I just, and at that point, honestly, for me, it wasn't obviously, like, I didn't do it for myself, or wouldn't have, I don't think, if it hadn't been for my daughter. Like, for her, it was desperation. Like, I had to do something. She was,
Sure.
like I said, failure to thrive. That's not a diagnosis anyone should take lightly. And it's scary. And like I said, I didn't feel like I was really being supported with medicine and those medical doctors. So I mean, it was desperation. But I didn't have to do it with her. I believed in it. I knew, like, it made sense to me that the body really it has a natural pull to be well.
Sure. Yeah.
To be healthy, like, that's its default. But, we just have a lot of toxicities and stress and other things that create a lot of imbalance in the body. So almost everything that I do in my practice is about balancing the body.
Yeah.
Because when we have balance, that's when we have optimal health and wellness.
So
did you do our best?
Did you notice any like small, like, so for example, like, when we see clients and we'll see them, like I see a client for like facial analysis, and then we do a follow-up in like 6 to 8 weeks. And I always ask them to like notice the subtleties, right? So, because the reason why I'm kind of digging at this question is that, I think that we're in this age of immediate gratification. And I think that people are turned off from sometimes like the more subtle aspects of healing that start to happen and accumulate and gain momentum. And I think that with natural healing, a lot of times people don't give it enough of a chance. You know what I mean? And so, like, I've had clients, like, for example, they, like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can like taste my food a little bit more. Like, oh, like, I just noticed my toes in my shoes, or just like little things like that you might just overlook. But if you were tuned in to see like, how am I healing? What's different? So do you recall, or can you remember any of like things like that on your healing journey? Because the body's so unique the way it expresses. And I thought that might be interesting.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say at that time in my life too, I mean, we were a military family, and so there was lots of stress, like we had just moved. My husband at the time, we had just gotten stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, and that's a military town. People are coming and going. It's very hard to get to know people. I knew nobody there when we moved there, and had no, real support. And then when I'm like cooking everything from scratch, and like, I'm sick, she's sick, he's gone, it was like almost too much,
A lot.
So it was hard to recall. I know that there were things, because 6 months it's a good chunk of time. Like I said, the thing I noticed first probably was that my pain was lessened. I was in chronic pain all the time, so definitely less pain.
Okay.
And then just like that brain fog that so many people struggle with. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so many.
The brain fog really, was helped with changing my diet and getting rid of, all of the sugar and processed food. But when I started Tim's formulas, that's when I really noticed changes. Like my diet was still clean, but we didn't have to be so meticulous.
Right.
Was working again. So I had like a life again, not in the kitchen all the time. But yeah, I'd say with Tim's formulas, like I feel younger now at almost 41 than I did at 25. Of course, when you're on 13 different meds, every medication has a side effect, and that, oh my God, I mean, like I struggled to be awake. I was just over medicated. But even after getting off of the meds, and having my daughter, I still felt terrible. So I can't blame it all on the meds. But yeah, with Tim's formulas, I would say, definitely more energy, more mental clarity,
right,
more motivation, just more myself.
So it's like different things coming together. And you as a practitioner, you have a lot of different things that you do, which is, I think, Claire is this way and I'm this way. And a lot of the people who are, I guess, more experienced in holistic healing are this way. We've accumulated many different tools on our belt because, like nutrition, that's an aspect of it, right? And that definitely helped you. But then like there's a different kind of nutrition, right? And then there's the biofeedback, and then there's like testing just to make sure that you're staying in balance. And it's, being your own self-healing advocate is there's some work, there's some critical thinking, there's some problem solving that has to go into this. And, that's another thing that I really admire about you is you ask such good questions. You're a detective.
Yeah. I mean, I think any good practitioner has to be, right? I mean, like we have to really dig deep if we want to help somebody. We need to, because everybody, like, is so individual, and it's not a one size fits all thing. I mean, like everybody's unique, and what works for you doesn't work for me, so knowing details and really listening to a person and being the detective and gaining all the information, that's where the true gold is.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, please hop in.
Can I break in just a second? You said something back a little ways ago that really impressed me. You said that as on your journey, that the GAPS program or whatever you were looking at made sense to you. How do you feel? Do you feel like intuition is a big part of a healing journey too?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it is. And I think a lot of people, they don't, I don't know if practice is the right word, but I mean, you do have to kind of develop your own intuition. And I do believe that some people are a little bit more intuitive than others. I do believe myself to be more intuitive. And so I use a lot of my own intuition to help my clients, and always encourage other people to try to develop their own intuition as well. Not just for when it comes to like face value health and wellness, but I mean, if you really practice listening to yourself and developing that intuition, all things in life are going to be healthier for you.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. That is guru. The meaning in Sanskrit is darkness remover. Right. And so like, I think we all share this, and it's so wonderful to talk to you, Danielle, and to have Claire here. It's like this, I don't know, this is just fun.
It's fun, isn't it?
Isn't it fun?
It's a tribe.
Yes, exactly. And developing intuition, it's like people have this ability within them to have access to this infinite wisdom. And, I think the best thing as practitioners that we can do is help people to activate their own inner teacher. Now, if people are deficient in critical minerals, it's like your body's electrical panel is like, it's malfunctioning. People are like overly stressed, they're in fight or flight, sympathetic dominance. It's going to be very hard to listen to that more subtle, soft voice rather than this person up here that's like 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day. Right. So, but that, also having the courage to listen to your intuition, Danielle, and guide people in that way. But not just that, because I think it's important as practitioners that it's like we have a little check system, like certainly, letting intuition guide us, but also having like credentials and like having tests. And, it's just like, I have a feeling and the wind is blowing to the east and the stars were aligning to the west, because I'm like, get away from me, you crazy, like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, people love tests, right? I mean, at first when I started doing, using Tim's formulas, I was just muscle testing. And I mean, while that's great, there are some, variables that kind of can throw things off, and not everybody believes in the muscle testing process, right? Yeah. A lot of people don't even know what that is. But it's a way to listen to the body, and you can literally test anything, to see whether it strengthens the body or weakens it. And so while that was great, it was time consuming. And actually I have over the years developed a process working through, with Tim, to test the saliva to see what formulas people need. So that's nice, because not only are we're testing which formulas they need, we're looking to see what's out of balance with their body in general. So what minerals are they deficient in? Which organs are stressed and need support? Are there hormone imbalances, which typically they are? Even food sensitivities, food and environmental sensitivities. On average, I would say most people have about 25 different food sensitivities that they don't even know they have. And then when they're, coming into contact with those things day in, day out, that creates a lot of inflammation.
Yep.
And so really uncovering those imbalances and areas that need support, as well as what is needed to restore those areas that have the imbalance. How do we get your body back to balanced? And so the saliva analysis has been a great addition to my practice to see, what we need to do. It's your roadmap to care.
Yeah. And you're right that there's so many different formulas and minerals. It's like, okay, do you have 4 hours today for to test you, and then if you're stressed or, there's EMFs or you're, whatever is going on, it could kind of interrupt that. I get that. Yeah. So I think that that's clever. And I think that that's, I'm sure makes your practice much more effective. Right.
Yeah.
Now talk to me about the bioenergetic analysis. Is that a, kind of crisscross Venn diagram with the saliva, or is that a separate thing? Or can you talk a little bit, just explain that a little bit?
Yeah. The bioenergetic saliva, it is a saliva analysis that I do.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I can it's great because I can work with people remotely. So you don't have to be local to me, which was really great after the pandemic. And, everybody wanted to work from home and then not go anywhere, which I'm not promoting necessarily, but I'm just saying, you don't have to be in Chattanooga for us to work together, which is great. And I can just mail you the saliva kit, and it has a prepaid self-addressed envelope in it. You just mail it right back to me, and we can do everything just like this. So, but one of the things that makes it unique is that it is bioenergetic in nature. So it's literally using frequencies, and I'm huge on frequencies because really when you break everything down into the world, and we're talking from a law of physics standpoint, everything has energy. everything carries a specific frequency. So even with Tim's formulas, I mean, his aren't frequency based, but they have a frequency. And that's part of what makes it so potent and so unique.
Sure.
And so we are using frequencies so my database has over 40,000, it's like 45,000 different items that we could potentially test.
Holy shit. That's pretty comprehensive.
It's very comprehensive. Of course, when we work together, we're not testing everything, but we do test a good chunk of things. But we're using that because everything that's in the database has a specific frequency. And then it's testing the frequencies from your saliva to see how it, in a sense, it feeds back. It is a type of biofeedback. The information that it gives us, whether or not you need support in one area or another. So, and the same is true with the biofeedback therapy that I do in office. If you are local to me, then it's frequency therapy as well. So just another way to rebalance your body using frequencies.
Sure. So Danielle, can you talk a little bit about maybe some cases that you've seen, obviously not specifics because that's confidential, but just so people can get an idea of things that you've seen and treated that effectively?
Yeah. So I don't have as many pictures as you do. I wish I had more pictures, like before and after photos, because you have got some amazing photos, but I have a few that are good too. You have to find willing candidates too that are willing to have their before, posted. But I always tell people too, with us, when we're working with folks and we're taking their photo, and then we're taking their photo, say 3 months later, and you can see how the fine lines and wrinkles are fading. And, they have an eye lift and they truly look younger from just taking supplements. I think that it's really important for us to remind people. I mean, they know how they feel inside. It's always better, but it's true. I mean, if you can see on the outside how your body, your inflammation is lowering and how much, better you look and how vibrant you are, imagine what that's doing on the inside.
Yeah.
And so it is true though, that a lot of the folks I've worked with, we haven't done just Tim's formulas. We've done Tim's formulas and biofeedback. And so I've seen a lot of things, but I'm trying to think of people that have just done Tim's formulas and the amazing things. God, there's so many. There are so many, but my daughter, I think, was the most wonderful. I want to say this. I do work with children, and I always wanted to work with kids, not because I love kids, get them in here and they're so easy to work with, because that's not the case at all. But I was a mom that was literally desperate for help with her daughter. And so I was like, I know that this is my calling, at least part of it, to help kids or moms that are desperate. And so I was like, I don't know how to do that though, because when these kids come into office, they're tearing things up and not sitting still. And I can't help these kids, they're not sitting still. Can't muscle test them because they're not cooperating. And so with the addition of the saliva analysis, I can still help the kids without having them come in the office. And the greatest thing about kids is that they heal so quickly.
Yeah.
So my daughter, for instance, 10 days, that doesn't happen all the time, but I'll tell you, this one little girl, she was 2 years old. She was stuttering a lot. She's a brilliant little girl. I mean, she is just so cool. She's one of the coolest little kids I've ever seen. But she was constipated, stuttering. I can't exactly remember everything, but I started her. We did the saliva analysis. I started on her on what she needed, Tim supplements. And then within 24 hours, her mom already noticed the difference and was reaching out to me and saying, is that possible? 24 hours? But yeah, her speech had improved. She was eliminating better. And I don't even remember. There was one other thing, but she was I can seriously tell within 24 hours. So then she did it for a few days, the supplements, and then I think she wanted to kind of test to see if they were really helping or not. So she stopped them, and then everything came back. So that's just one example.
Powerful.
But kids are like, if you can get them what they need, they heal so fast that it's so rewarding too. Because it literally happens right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, it is to watch people transform. And, Danielle, going from a profession where you knew something was off, like you're like, okay, there's corn syrup in this and these people are struggling. They're not getting better. They're getting worse. It's just like, all right, here's the pill. I think it's because you're so strong-willed and you have a lot of integrity and character that, because I'm sure there were like school bills. Like I have a friend who, she's in the medical profession. She's like, I do not want to be here, but I feel like I have a leash on me and I have $140,000 in student loans. And I feel like, there's other people in the, Western medical practices, which, again, it has its place, but for this kind of healing, with what you wanted to do is see people really transform, not just like manage, it's, the shift that you made was not easy, but because you stood in the power of your integrity and because you used your intuition and you wanted to be in service to your daughter, of course. But like, I feel like on our journeys, like everyone right now, like Claire and me and you, we all have like a healing journey behind us. Right. And that's kind of like the Be Healthy the journey, right? That's the series. It's so wonderful and inspiring to hear that you were on both sides of the fence, and because of your integrity, character, and your willingness to serve, you made you took the road that was not as easy, because, and now the reward now is that you get to see real healing in front of you, including in yourself.
Yes. It's really been, well, it's humbling, but at the same time, it's just like, I'm just so grateful because I know how bad I felt.
Yeah.
I felt like trash. It's not an understatement. And so I just want to really, I hope this goes where it needs to go. Like someone who needs to hear this, to have hope and just like contact one of us. It's like there's real healing to be had. Like you do not have to feel like crap. Yeah. And so that's really where I want to be, like that vessel to help people, on to cross the bridge to this side of wellness, where you can truly live, like you live your life
and thrive.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have to like take so many meds. Okay, so like what is it? It's been at least 10 years since I've been on any meds. I don't plan, and that's not like no antibiotics. Everything I treat naturally. And so I'm glad you brought up the point too about like, I guess allopathic medicine serves a place, right? So that's very true. And if I ever needed, like, obviously I would take antibiotics if I absolutely exhausted all other, that's just options. That's one example. But I mean, literally, I have not.
I saw that.
Yeah. I've not, I mean, like, I've been able to treat everything naturally. There's usually a solution.
Yeah.
So what I encourage folks to do is seek the natural solution or alternative first. Then if you've exhausted those options, then of course, and I'm not saying like if you're at high risk or whatever, that's your own thing. Always work with your medical doctor. I gotta say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's so cool that we have all these tools in our toolkit, right? Like, it's awesome.
Wonderful. Claire, do you have any follow-up questions or comments?
Yes, I do. I have a burning question.
Okay.
So, how do we get a hold of you to be able to access the ability to get saliva tests, or to have you help us be medically balanced, physically balanced? How do we do that? How do we get hold
Yeah.
of you?
Well, if you guys are on Instagram or Facebook, you can find me at it's Nutrapothica, and it's spelled Nutra. Yeah, Nutrapothica. I was like .com. But you can go on my website. It's nutrapothica.com. And then I also offer like a 20-minute Zoom consultation where we can just make sure, I want to find out what's going on with you, what you need help with, maybe what you've done in the past, and see if we would be a good fit for working together.
What cost am I looking at if I wanted to start out? What are we looking at?
Well, I really, that is a great question. I like to have that first conversation before, I can really accurately give you an estimate. Because everybody's needs are different. And usually I package things in a way that it's going to be most helpful for the client. So a lot of times people will just want to do the saliva analysis for the information, and that's okay. But again, we need to talk about what we want to test. I mean, the basic test is somewhere around $250. That's a very kind of like, you're just getting a little bit of information. But I would also encourage you not to just do the test. Like, let's do the test and the supplement so that we get you balanced. And so I have it packaged in a way to where they do an initial saliva analysis. We meet over Zoom like this to go over the results. We get you the supplements you need. It's a 3-month protocol. I follow up with you every other week to make sure that you are taking the protocol, because a lot of people forget to take their supplements. And if you can't take your supplements, there's not much I can do there. Right. So, and that also gives you the opportunity to ask me any questions, or maybe you've had a health condition come up or a health issue come up, and that can be addressed. So it's kind of like having your own consultant there. But at the end of the 3-month period, then we do another saliva analysis, and we kind of see where you are. What changes do we need to make? Are we making improvements? Do we need to switch gears? And so I kind of have it packaged that way.
Brilliant.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Well, Danielle, it's been amazing having you on the podcast. It's just been wonderful learning more about your story and what you do, even though we've talked quite a bit. And I'm excited that people can now find you maybe a little bit easier. And again, you can go to her website. It's nutrapothica.com. And we will have that information also in the show notes. Anything else, Danielle?
I was just going to throw out to my number. If anybody is interested in working with me, feel free to call me or text me. So it's 423-300-6702, if that's more helpful.
Perfect. All right.
And I just want to say thank you guys so much. This has been a pleasure and such a wonderful opportunity.
Oh, you are so welcome. We're glad to have you be here. You are an important part of the healing journey. Yes.
Thank you. We all play a part.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Danielle. Have a wonderful day, and namaste.
Same to you, ladies. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Aaron@aaroncoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Thank you so much. Namaste.